very much. Spirit ilikuwa imemshika kidogo. Thank you very much. It's rather absurd that we are again being invited to very unusual waters or unusual squabbles, which are rather unnecessary, especially this time. They emanated from a church function. Can you imagine? We are debating on who did what in a church function. That is actually what has brought us here in Kisii. But all of you can attest that we all have our histories. UDA has a history and ODM has a history. Just to jog the mind of the members of the ODM, that the leadership of this country, and His Excellency the President William Samoei Ruto, and the entire leadership of the UDA ascended to power through, by the grace of God. And this actually came up because of the intense prayers that we did, and the campaigns that we engaged in, and also the prayers that were conducted through fundraisers that we conducted across the country. This is not going to change. If you thought that now that he's president, will stop fundraising for churches, we know our foundation. And ODM should also find their foundation. Their foundation is elsewhere, our foundation is in Christ. So you taking offense over fundraisers in churches, and then coming up with goons, attacking people in churches, attacking pastors in churches, and then now when you are scored because you are not given the plate you wanted, you are not served with the plate that you wanted of violence, you start crying foul and saying, the government is using state machinery. There was no police officer invited in that church function. The function was the people who were invited in church function are members of parliament, and in particular, the members of the UDA coalition, because even the pastors know who can actually fundraise for churches. Our motivation is the president, who is, takes pride in giving in churches and fundraising and raising altars, spiritual altars across the country. They can also find their roots in the ODM party, the orange, it's called Orange Dictatorship Movement, a party that does not, a party that does not take divergent views from members of the public or even their own members. So ideally what happened in Kisii, and I think that is why we are here, is rather, it was actually unnecessary, but it was entirely caused by the Orange Democratic, or rather Orange Dictatorship Movement, and we call upon them to be tolerant. When we visit their constituencies, when we come to different, we are a free country. Every member of this country is free to traverse this country. Freedom of association is enshrined in our constitution under Article 37. I am free to move anywhere in this country. I am, Honorable Nyakundi is actually free to go anywhere. You don't take offense, you don't own, you're not condoning some areas and say this is an ODM zone. It was quite ironical to hear the party leader and the Secretary General calling an area that this is an ODM region. What ODM region? How do you define an ODM region when you couldn't even garner more than 2 members of parliament in Gusii? In some areas, actually, you didn't even get MCAs, even where you have a governor. You could not even get enough MCAs in area. What parameter do you use to define an area as yours? So we are telling them to be tolerant, just by their name, even as we choose to replace that name to dictatorship. If you are democratic enough, allow members of the other, political party and the UDA to traverse the country, to traverse every area. And you are free to also come to our areas. We will not cry foul. You are actually welcome to our areas. You are invited to South Mugrango, my constituency, to Kitutu Church and North. Come and do registration. It's free for all. Stop causing chaos. We know you. You thrive in chaos, but this time round, we are not going to allow you. We will continue traversing our area. We will continue recruiting members as the UDA party, and we will not allow you. There is no amount of antagonistic politics that is going to stop us. And finally, please be honest enough. Try to be honest a little bit. You are lying to members of the public that the events of Sunday was about the recruitment of teachers. How all those men and women standing behind the camera lying in public when you know very well that TSC is not recruiting now? There is no budget of recruit. Actually, it is that even the members of parliament who are shaking their head display their high level of ignorance by the mere fact that they do not know that the process of budget making is actually on as we speak. It hasn't been tabled. There is no recruitment of teachers or replacement that is being done. So there was no dishing of TSC letters that was being done. If you are targeting Mzee Ezekiel Machogu, please find another way of targeting him. Because at that particular function, we challenge you to provide a simple clip of any leader, of any member of parliament, giving out those TSC letters as you claimed. In any case, by the way, we were live in one of the local stations. So ideally, you can't lie to the public. You can lie to a few people sometime, but you can't lie to all people all the time. You also lied about the KWS letters, that we were dishing out some KWS letters. Those are lies. Every person knows that KWS does recruitment in the field.